Come on in, honey. The lantern's lit, the veil's a little thin, and the wind's been dying to carry a few secrets your way. Welcome to Raven's Ramblings, where the shadows walk beside us and the past never stays buried, and a good spell can speak louder than a sermon. I'm Raven Nightingale, part healer, part hellraiser, keeper of the old ways and ghost stories alike. So pull up a chair and listen close. You never know what might be whispering in the dark. Welcome back to Raven's Ramblings, everyone. I am your host, Raven. How y'all doing? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at my computer because it went. Nah, we don't really want to do that right this second. You're gonna have to wait, and then we're just gonna throw it at you and start all of a sudden. So it's gonna make your editing all fucked up. But anyway, where was I? I have not had my meds, and so we're gonna be a little squirrely. Yay! Good times. Okay. Today I want to talk to you about something that I think I know I experience. Okay, I know I do. And should I be ashamed? No, because it's life. We're going to talk about missing Sabbats and Spats and, celebration days. Because I don't know about y'all, but yeah, life is busy, life is hard, and sometimes things just get put on the back burner. So, with missing Sabbats, like not celebrating them or even forgetting them completely, which does happen, realizing 3 days later that Beltane happened and thinking, well, shit. Or maybe seeing everyone's beautiful Samhain altar photos online and suddenly remembering that you spent your Samhain eating takeout and watching Netflix. Not a big deal. If that's you, don't worry. You are in good company. I promise. I totally promise. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when you skip the Sabbats. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to listen all the way through, nothing. Nothing explodes. Yeah, nothing explodes. The universe keeps spinning, the wheel keeps turning, and your witchcraft does not suddenly just disappear because you forgot to celebrate Litha, which incidentally is this next coming weekend. Now that I think about it and look at the date. Anyway, so let's start with something that I think we've all experienced, and that is the Sabbath guilt trip. Yes, you know the feeling. There's a holiday coming up and you have all these plans because, especially when you're new in your craft, you want to do all the things. So you plan and you buy things and you get them ready and you prepare them. So you have all these wonderful plans. You're going to clean your altar, you're going to decorate, you're going to do a full ritual and pull tarot cards and make this special meal and journal and really connect with the season. And maybe even post some aesthetically pleasing photos online because who doesn't love that, right? And then life shows up just carrying a folding chair and sits down, and suddenly you're working overtime, and the dog gets sick, or your kid gets sick, or you get sick. And then there's bills that need to be paid, and the house is a disaster, and you're just fucking exhausted. Or maybe you're just having one of those weeks where just existing feels like a full time job. And then before you know it, the Sabbath has come and gone. And you did absolutely nothing. Or maybe you're like me and remember it around 11:30 at night and kind of grumble, well, happy Beltane, I guess, before you fall asleep. I've been there all the time. More than once this year. I know. You know what? Still a witch. I'm just saying. I think one of the main reasons that people feel so much guilt about these things is because of social media. Now, don't get me wrong, I love looking at these beautiful, elaborate altars. I just absolutely love it. And I enjoy seeing other people's celebrations. And I love seeing very creative ideas for different seasons and Sabbats and all that. But social media has a sneaky way of making ordinary people feel like they're failing, and that's ridiculous. You open up Instagram and someone has made handmade decorations with fresh flowers and this gorgeous ritual setup and custom candles and foods and a hand sewn robe that looks like it belongs in a fantasy movie. Meanwhile, you're like me and you're sitting on your couch eating leftover pizza and wondering if leggings count as ritual attire. Incidentally, I have done ritual in leggings. I'm just saying. But suddenly it feels like everybody else is being what you would consider a proper witch while you're just somehow doing it wrong. But here is what social media rarely shows. It rarely shows those messy parts. It doesn't show the missed Sabbats because it does happen to everyone. It doesn't show the exhaustion or the burnout or the people who forgot completely or the people who celebrated by just lighting a candle for 30 seconds because that is all they had the energy for, right? That is all the spoons they had for that day to light that candle for 30 seconds and then blow it out and walk away. Because those witches exist too. And there is a shit ton more of those than you realize. Okay. And I have noticed something really interesting over the years. So, the period where people tend to feel the most guilty about missing Sabbaths are often when their life is already kind of beating them up, right? Maybe they're grieving or they're struggling financially or dealing with health problems, or maybe they're just burnt out. Maybe they're trying to survive school or working nights and can't remember what damn day it is. I'm going to attest that that is a huge problem for me. Working a night shift and trying to remember when the day is, that I think that's part of why I miss so many Sabbats because I just don't fucking know what day it is anymore. But instead of giving themselves grace, they add another thing to feel guilty about. Yeah. And now they're extra stressed because life is hard and they're stressed because they're not practicing enough. And then they're stressed because they missed a Sabbath. And that's a really heavy burden to carry. And sometimes just surviving a boring Tuesday is the ritual itself. Yeah. Sometimes making it through that day is enough. And I think, personally, more witches need to hear that, especially, honestly, especially newer witches, because some of us older witches are just like, yeah, okay, it's fine. But the younger witches, the newer witches, I say the younger witches, it's not younger in age, but younger in their craft. They feel like there are these expectations, you know? And get honey, get rid of that guilt. You don't need that extra bullshit because here's something that it did take me a long time to understand all this. So, the wheel of the year does not depend on me. I know. Litha is going to come next Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which. No, Litha is going to come next weekend, whether I participate or not. Spring is going to arrive whether I celebrate Ostara or not. It really is. I am not important in the will of the year. Is the will of the year important to me? Some days. It probably should be more important. But you know what? I'm not going to carry guilt over that because life, right? You know, I I should worry about things more, but I just really don't. I feel like there are more important things for me to worry about. Yeah. Because these seasons do not need my participation. The leaves are going to change whether I decorate for Maybon or not. Winter is going to come whether I acknowledge Yule or not. Nature is not keeping score. There is no cosmic attendance sheet, right? There's nobody standing at the entrance and checking the names off a list. And the wheel has been turning for thousands of years, and it's going to keep turning long after my old ass is gone. And it's kind of comforting in a way when you think about it, because it is that continuality, right? But it just means if you miss one turn of the wheel, another one's coming. and then another one, and then another one, you know? Just it's gonna be fine, right? And I think some people secretly worry that missing a Sabbath means that they're a bad witch, or not even a real witch, or they're not committed enough. But let's be honest. If missing one holiday made someone stop being a witch, none of us would survive very long, right? They really wouldn't. None of us would. Because imagine if other parts of life worked that way. Let's say you have been going to the gym for 10 years straight, every day. You're going, you're going, you're going. And then you forget one day because you don't feel good. Well, you're no longer a gym member now. Nope, you're done. That's it. Or you missed one day of journaling. Whoop, it, guess you're no longer a writer. Yeah. Or, oh, this is totally me. You forgot to water your plants. Well, you are permanently banned from gardening. It sounds ridiculous, right? I mean, I probably should be permanently banned from gardening because I do forget to water plants. Yeah, I feel like they need a little voice that goes, "Hey, bitch, don't forget about me," because I will forget. Anyway, and yet sometimes we apply that logic of if you forget one time, then we apply the logic to our spiritual practice. Well, then you're just not doing it right. But growth isn't about perfection. It is about returning and returning again and again. Whenever you can. All right. And one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned is that celebrations don't have to be elaborate. Some years they are this huge production. I recall a Samhain where I handmade flowers for the ancestral altar and stuff. Some years are huge and amazing, and some years they're just fucking not. And both of those things are okay, right? They are both okay. Because a Sabbath can be just lighting a candle or making a cup of tea or a walk. Take a walk. Go look at the moon. That's my favorite one. Go look at the moon. If you're feeling like you're missing out doing something, just go look at the moon. She's beautiful all the time. Well, not right now because we're heading into new moon. But yeah, say a quiet prayer. And I use the word prayer, but not in the Christian sense. You know what I mean? I do. When people ask, do you pray? Yeah, I kind of do. But that's just me conversing with my spiritual influences, right? Yeah. So I say prayer. Don't take offense to it. It's not a Christian prayer. I promise. I fucking promise. That line has been cut and disconnected. But anyway, spend 5 minutes just reflecting on the season around you. That's enough, right? Because sometimes we forget that because we have convinced ourselves that everything has to be this huge social media type production. But magic is not measured by that type of effort. It is measured by your intention. We have had that conversation throughout season 1 and 2 of this podcast. Your intention is what counts. All right? Because a 5-minute moment of genuine connection is worth more than a 3-hour ritual that you honestly didn't want to fucking do. That 5 minutes, way better. Don't stress yourself out on this. And I wonder sometimes if that type of guilt that we're feeling for missing these things comes from some deeper place. Maybe it's not really about the Sabbath. It's about feeling that we're failing because a lot of us grew up in systems that taught us uh, that devotion meant performance. Yeah. And that spirituality meant checking boxes. Yeah. And that if we missed something important or didn't do something that someone else thought was important, we had somehow disappointed some kind of higher power. Yeah. Trauma. Even after leaving those systems behind, some of those habits remain. They really do. And we start treating witchcraft like homework, like another obligation, another thing on the to-do list. But that's not why most of us came into this path. Most of us came here because we were seeking connection, some kind of meaning or wonder or healing, not another reason to beat ourselves up. Because honestly, there's enough shit out there that we can beat ourselves up about. Our spirituality should not be one of those things, period. Right? You forget your kid's birthday, you should probably beat yourself up a little bit. I mean, not like, look, you know what I'm saying, right? So, one of my favorite things about the craft, personally, and the favorite things about nature is that it's patient. All right. The oak tree in the backyard does not get offended because you missed a ritual. You know, the moon does not hold a grudge. The changing of the seasons don't demand some kind of extraordinary explanation. You know, nature just simply continues. And when you're ready to reconnect, it's still there, waiting. You know, that first cool breeze of autumn. Love that. That's my absolute favorite. You know, the first flowers of spring, the warmth of summer, not this fucking heat that we're having. Hate summer. It is my least favorite season. Hate it. The quiet stillness of winter. That may be my absolute favorite. You know, that invitation for all of these things remains open. You don't have to earn your way back into it, you know? I've had years where I celebrated every Sabbath, decorated and planned and prepared and made a whole big to do and ran around like a crazy person. I've also had years where life was just chaos and years where I barely knew what day it was. I mean, that's pretty, the last 6 years for me, but that's night shift. I had years where I was just trying to get through the next shift or the next week or the next challenge. And you know what? My practice has survived both. It has. The meaningful years weren't always the big to-do ones, the big elaborate ones. Some of the most meaningful years I've had were the messy ones. And those were the years that taught me to keep going. Those were the years that taught me resilience. And they remind me that spirituality doesn't disappear just because life gets hard. It's all still right there waiting for you. It is. So if you're listening to this and you've missed a Sabbath recently, like me, because Ostara came and went, and I'm like, well, maybe next year, or even several Sabbaths, or maybe an entire year of Sabbaths. If you've missed all of those things, I want you to hear this. All right? Put your little listening ears on. Mama Raven's going to tell you something. You have not failed. You are not behind. You have not disappointed anyone. You don't need to catch up. You do not need to make up for lost time. And you, for definite, do not have to carry guilt over something that was supposed to bring you joy. You don't fucking need that. No, you don't need that. That's gonna be the new thing. Mama Raven says no. Don't hold on to that guilt. Fuck that. The wheel keeps turning. The seasons are going to keep changing. Your path is still there. And when you're ready, you just simply step back onto it. There's no apology required. Because the truth is that sometimes you just skip the damn Sabbats and nothing explodes. The world keeps spinning, the magic stays, and honestly, maybe that's how it's supposed to be. It's not a tragedy, you know? It's not. It's not a tragedy. It's gonna be okay. You got this. So, thank you for spending a little time with me today. And I would love to know, if have you ever missed a Sabbath and felt guilty about it? Or have you learned to let yourself off the hook? Come tell me about it in the comments, in the Facebook group, or wherever you connect with my podcast. That would be amazing. Go to the website. You can leave a review on there or, send an email, whatever. I would love to hear from y'all. Okay. So until next time, my dears, stay curious and stay wild. And of course, stay witchy. Bye.